Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me in this episode, I have, at just 24, award-winning British filmmaker Elliott Hasler, who has defied the odds, creating epic films like Vindication Swim in the treacherous English Channel, breaking into the UK box office top 10 and earning global acclaim, proving passion, grit, and vision can turn teenage dreams into cinematic triumph. Elliott, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me on the show.
Great pleasure having you here. And the more Brits, the merrier. I've got another one coming on. I've got a very top coach coming on. So I do have a lot of people from the film industry, mostly from Hollywood. So it's nice to have a British filmmaker on for a change. Mostly actors, and even I've had Americans Got Talent. The producer, Christmas last year, I didn't quite get Simon Cowell, but hopefully you'll get up there as well. Now, I used to be an athlete as well. I competed at the Commonwealth Games in athletics, so I've been around swimmers and stuff like that. And I'm much older than you. I'm 60 years old, so I do remember English Channel swims when I was a kid. Oh, they just went the English Channel and things like that. So it was a huge thing even in the 70s when I was growing up as a young kid, toddler, almost, before I became a teenager. So your film was really quite interesting, and obviously, as I really focus on resilience and mindset and everything else, it's quite good that you've done is it a documentary or an actual film?
No, it's an actual film.
Yeah, so it's quite good that you've done that, actually. So Elliott, from making your first feature as a teenager to navigating the challenges of filming Vindication Swim in the open sea, what experiences or lessons along the way shaped your approach to storytelling, risk-taking, and turning visions into reality?
I think it was just sort of a can-do attitude, really. I didn't ever kind of think too deeply about it. I've loved films, and films are what I want to do. So making them, it's my passion for a while now. And then, I just kind of, I think it was a sense of naivety, really. I've never studied film or anything like that. So I've not kind of been, if you like, indoctrinated into that system of you've got to do X and you got to do, kind of ABC and follow everything down a sort of patterned route. So no, I kind of just went at it by myself with a camera and, friends and family at first. And then obviously it grows and you make more contacts and you start getting professional actors, and everything kind of just snowballed, really. And it grew very organically from World War II, The Long Road Home, which I made when I was at school, sort of between the ages of 14 and 16. It's a film about my great grandfather and this sort of journey he went on during the Second World War after he escaped from prisoner of war camp in Italy. So that was a very amateur project, just friends and family, but that was kind of where I learned about making films, and really kind of my first experience in that world. And then it got picked up for a UK and a US release, which is beyond what we expected at the time. And then last year it dropped on Paramount Plus in Europe. So it's done incredibly well. And then off the back of that, I was able to come on to do Vindication Swim, which is an entirely different beast, but that was an incredible journey bringing that to screen.
Yeah, wow. It's quite a good way it all panned out for you, really. I mean, you became an accidental filmmaker, actually, by just experimenting with it at school, or what happened there?
Yeah, that was sort of where it began. Yeah, so there was a school project when I was about 10 years old.
10.
Lessons.
I've got a daughter who's 10 years old. She's just published a book, by the way, as a young author. So
incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry, go on. You was 10 years old, so that's quite an inspiring thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a school project where instead of lessons for a week, it was everyone in the class made a film. It was an adaptation of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and that. Having always loved films growing up, that was my first experience of seeing, obviously at a very amateur level, how films were put together. Sort of everyone had to be involved in the scripting, the production, whether you were behind the camera or acting in it or whatever, and then editing it. So that was really kind of, the first insight I had into how these things are constructed. And I just absolutely loved it. I fell in love with that world, that career from there. And then that's been my passion ever since.
Yeah, well, that's really great. So obviously, having all these filmmaking stuff and everything, it must have been quite a hobby of yours to begin with. I mean, because it's not cheap buying this stuff, is it really? I used to, I mean, I was quite into science. I became a firefighter in the end, so I was buying lots of electric stuff from this shop called Tandy's. It's not around anymore, but even microscopes I bought, but I was never going to be a doctor or anything like that. But, of course, things like human biology and all that stuff was going in that direction of emergency services and helping kind of profession. For you, was it going that way? Is that why you got all the equipment and everything in the same sense that I did and ended up where I did, with my fitness as well, with doing my athletics?
Yeah, it kind of just accumulated over the years from that age of 10, and then kind of all developed from there, and I just gathered different bits of equipment over the years and things. But I think filmmaking equipment in general has become so much more accessible now than it was 20, 30, whatever, however many years ago. Back in the day, everyone was sort of, if you wanted to be a kind of amateur filmmaker, you had to shoot on Super 8 and then get it processed and all that stuff. It's costly, it's time consuming. Now you've got a 4K camera in your pocket on your iPhone, so the ability to make films, I think, has become so much easier over the years in terms of the equipment. And now it's anyone can make a film, which I think is it is great for budding filmmakers.
Yeah, it's amazing that really. One of the other things I was into was music, probably films a little bit. I mean, I'm into films, but as in doing it as a hobby. So I had a couple of decks to mix. But one of the things I did have was a reel to reel. I don't know why I had that. Like a 4-track. They used to have 4 tracks recording studios to record actual music, singing and stuff like that. So you could do live sessions and record it. Of course, you don't need that anymore. Just a digital. It used to be digital CDs, but now you just plug everything straight into Zoom or YouTube, and it's all done for you. I mean, there are say podcasting software that you can use, that does all the editing and everything for you, actually, the sound engineering and even the video. So that's where it's gone, isn't it? Really. I mean, I don't know about you because I'm talking about 1980s. It's different now, isn't it? In your days.
Yeah, but it's come on a long way. I mean, I was born before the iPhone came about, so that's within my lifetime.
I bought my first one. I bought my first iPhone 1, if you like,
oh, really?
2007, 8, something like that. So.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that actually did. That's what revolutionized everything, was when the iPhone came out, because obviously social media and the internet were before the .com, boom and bust. That was the thing that really revolutionized everything, was when it all went on to the iPhone, and then it became smartphone, then smart everything, really. So and really it's all going towards AI now, isn't it, really?
It is, yeah. I think a lot of people in the film industry are very worried about what that is.
Yeah, there's good and bad there, really, isn't it, with that? But the film industry, I've spoken to some of the Hollywood stars that I have on there, and they say, "Oh, don't talk to me about AI," because I mean, for me, it's making content and stuff like that, and doing my editing. It actually helps, and it's probably some of it helps you. But having stuff stolen and their faces stolen and stuff like that is really, I mean, it's stealing money from them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those things that it is great if you use it as a tool, kind of for your own work and things. Like, as you say, it cuts down the workload. It speeds things up. It's great for that, and as a cost cutting service as well. But
yeah,
when it's stealing people's faces and making them say things they didn't say.
On the worst case scenario, we're going along with cyber crimes and things like that, it's when it gets to all the deep fakes and even literally making a video of someone who looks like you, but it's not, to get money, or even worse, all this kind of like kidnapping children and things that could be done by, pretending you're someone else. So it's really, really a dangerous thing really out there. However, let's not digress. So that's how you got into it. And that's really inspiring. It's from the age of 10. I mean, obviously I do remember what I was doing at 10, and it was similar things, but experimenting in my own route, and ended up where I did. But then you eventually came to, so that was your first film was I forgot the name of it now. I've got Vindication Swim. What was it again?
World War II, The Long Road Home, the first one was.
Yeah. So why did you make that film before we move on to Vindication Swim?
I think it was such a sort of personal story in that it was a piece of family history that I'd kind of always grown up hearing, and it, it always interested me. I've always been fascinated by the Second World War and sort of the stories around that. So, this was a nice kind of family story set against that huge backdrop that I could explore. I mean, it's an incredible thing what he did to escape from a prisoner of war camp and then spend the best part of the next couple of years of the war, living with the resistance and evading the Nazis as he sort of made this huge journey across war-torn Italy. So, it's a remarkable story, and it was, it's probably a bit of an ambitious project, really, for a 14-year-old to begin turning into a feature-length film. But I would like to remake it at some stage, with sort of a proper budget. It only cost $3,000, so it was a very cheap project, and it was just sort of friends and family that kind of came together to act in it and things. But it's done incredibly well, and it's certainly
did you get your return on investment back on it then, or it was just a hobby, an expensive hobby?
And I've had several times my return on investment. If you were to do just percentages, it's probably one of the most successful movies of all time.
Oh, is it?
If you were to look at the percentages, but
yeah. I mean, with the low budget, you're not really bothered too much about that, I'm sure. So.
No, exactly. But it's nice. It's nice to have.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, especially with D-Day that came up last year, the 75th anniversary, and the Japan one as well, is the fact that there were plenty of stories coming out then. So you probably had a bit of competition, really. I don't know.
Well, the film came out a while ago now. We released in 2020. That was the UK. And
okay. So 70th year that would have been then, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it did very well 60. When it first came out, and then it just kicks over still. It's still
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can imagine I was born in 1964, just to give my age away. Well, I've already said it anyway. But you can imagine that the World War II wasn't really. It was still pretty new, really. All the soldiers were still pretty much in another job, the ones that survived and things like that. So I was hearing and seeing some of the damage, even of places being rebuilt, from where I was. So that was a very big thing for me growing up in the middle of London and seeing and hearing all this stuff still. So it's more of a distant history for you, but that's fantastic. So you moved on from that, and then you came on to the idea of Vindication Swim. What kind of brought you on to thinking about that story? Because that's further away, unless you used to be a swimmer or something like that, or
no, but I've always lived near the English Channel.
Yeah.
It's always been a part of my life. So I think it was that connection that kind of led me to discover the story in the first place, because I'd never heard of Mercedes Gleitz before, which, considering we were both born in Brighton, exactly a century apart, her in 1900 and then me in 2000. So there was a lot of synergies that made me feel very connected to her. And it was a real travesty that I hadn't heard of her before. So kind of discovering her story and then learning more about her, just really kind of ignited my desire to turn her story into a film, essentially. There was also the challenge of filming out at sea, which was a big draw as well. So we didn't fake any of it. There was no tanks, no green screens, not even anybody.
Yeah, that's what I saw. So that's pretty good that you've actually done it in the real kind of scenery rather than faking it all, which obviously a lot of movies do, don't they, really? And even in some of the they do put some real sceneries, but generally they want to. So that must have been sort of hard, really, to do that, or not really?
Oh, it was incredibly challenging. I mean, very, very tough. The production ended up lasting for 3 years because of swimming sequences that we had to do, because we were relegated kind of the summer months. Otherwise, it's just too cold to go out there into the channel and film. So it ended up being a mammoth 3-year production. I don't know how many times we went out at sea. It was probably close to about 30 times. It was a big endeavor. Sometimes we go out there, we'd get maybe 1 or 2 shots in the can, and the winds would change or the tides would change, and we'd have to abandon the shoot just because it was no longer safe to carry on with it. So it was we're really up against it making that film.
Yeah. I went to school I lived in Sussex for a little brief period. I think the first period was in Brighton, and then first thing we did was rush to the Pebble Beach. I think I was about 8 years old, something like that. and then the first we did, and then that railway was running. Then there's no railway there now. You can see the tracks probably still. I don't know, but there used to be a railway there and stuff like that. That was in the 70s, about 1974, something like that. And then I also went to a school in East Sussex, in East Grinstead. So you probably heard of it. Yeah, Haywards Heath, Crawley, yeah. Oh, you know it, yeah. Okay. But whereabouts was the filming of Brighton? Because I know Brighton very well. I mean, I used to just drive there. You know, everyone, whenever there's a heat wave, everyone in London said, "Yeah, let's hit Brighton." Yeah, it's either Brighton or Margate, but Margate's seen forever, you know. But I did go to Margate last year actually, which looks very nice. Actually, it does look nice, but they had some sewage problems a few years ago. Brighton tends to be like the second London, doesn't it now?
It is now, yeah. There's so many Londoners moved down. I'm one of the few natives.
Yeah, don't worry about it. As I say, I'm from Sussex from the 70s and 80s. I did stay there, although I'm born in London, born and bred. But you know, I know exactly, you know, how it all evolved, and London has started spreading out. Really.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, well, we shot a lot of it. It was kind of Sussex based, really. So we shot kind of all along that kind of south coast area in Sussex. We did a bit in Brighton, a bit in the kind of surrounding areas, surrounding towns and things.
Yeah, horrible in the winter though. We used to go somewhere called Seaford, and then you used to see the waves lashing right across the wall.
Well, that was where we shot all the sea stuff. We were off Seaford.
In Seaford. Oh, right, okay.
You've got the white cliffs there and everything. So you know,
yeah.
Sea, and there's the harbour that we used to go out from. So yeah, the bulk of the swimming sequences were shot there.
Ah, right. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Anyone who's listening, because 2/3 of my listeners are American, but I do obviously get a lot of UK, and then it's global. So don't worry, everybody's going to hear this, but nobody knows where Seaford is. No, I'm in a town that nobody knows, but Brighton they probably would have heard of. You know, so it's kind of now a big, you know, especially if you follow football, which is a global sport, then you know, Brighton, we've heard of that.
In the Premier League now,
yeah. My favourite team in America is Chicago Fire, you know. Well, now it is anyway. Now they're doing well. But you know what I mean? I mean, nobody's would have heard of a small town unless a certain sports team's done well. Or,
no, exactly.
You've got a tennis player and it's doing well. I forgot her name now. But yeah. So it's quite interesting. So yeah, it was quite challenging to film. It took you 3 years, which is a long time, really. I mean, one of the dangers is obviously swimming in that sea, really, and getting actors to swim in there. I mean, how did you get around that?
Well, so Kirsten Callahan, who plays Mercedes, she was adamant that she was going to do it all herself. So she wasn't going to have a body double.
That's brave, isn't it?
It is, yeah. She really wanted to, you know, embrace the kind of character, the role of Mercedes Lights, and really put herself into her shoes and literally dive into the English Channel. So she was up in the water up to 4 hours at a time sometimes, you know, swimming in all weather. Choppy seas to sunny days, you know. Everything.
Is she a swimmer anyway? I mean, to be doing that in cold weather for 4 hours. I mean, obviously, you must have Vaselined yourself up or whatever it is you put on you, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she was in like a 1920s woolen bathing suit for it. It's just so it was accurate to the period and everything.
Yeah.
But, she could swim obviously before the production, but I mean, she's an actress obviously first and foremost.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So we sort of trained her up in open water swimming 3-4 months.
Okay, yeah.
Water swim training, and then over the 3 years, she was just training non-stop for that whole time. She was a fantastic swimmer by the end of it.
Yeah, by the end. Well, if she was motivated anyway at the beginning, saying, "No, I'm going to do it all myself," you couldn't really do much about that. Then, of course, she's going to get there, hopefully, anyway. That's all what this show's about, mindset and doing stuff. And really, the story now, you tell us about the story, how the movie goes, how the movie's projecting it. Obviously, don't give it all away because I don't want people to not watch the movie, but you just give some teasers away. So just tell our audience how it goes.
Yeah, but the film very much ties into those ideas of mindset, of sort of these themes and ideas of perseverance, resilience, determination. I mean, those were the traits that Mercedes Gleitz embodied. You know, this is a working class woman, German immigrant parents, you know, in between the wars. So she faced everything she was up against, you know, the racism, the misogyny, the class system in Britain, and then she just defied all odds, and she went out there and she became the first British woman to swim the English Channel. So it really is a story of just pushing through and breaking down those barriers and achieving your dreams. So yeah, I mean, it does tie in kind of perfectly with the sort of the themes of the podcast as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah. So basically you just got to watch it really. I mean, we do know basic the story. I mean, is there a backstory before it and after? I mean, obviously people can Google, her name, but is in the film, is there a backstory before and after, or is it just the swim or based around the swim?
Yeah, so it's sort of based around her. I always think with biopics, when you try and cover too much, they never quite work. So in this one, we focus just on her sort of English Channel attempt of 1927, and there was sort of this huge media frenzy at the time because another rival swimmer comes along and claims to have done the same thing, and it forces Mercedes into this sort of cheating scandal where she has to go out and prove herself, vindicate herself,
Yeah.
film. So it's all tied into that controversy around that time and her attempts at the English Channel.
Yeah, it's a very, very daring thing to do, really. I'm not sure if people probably had some facilities or anything doing that challenge. It's quite a challenge.
Yeah, she was in the water for 15 hours and 15 minutes and swimming. So it's a huge feat of endurance.
Yeah. Does she actually do it there and back afterwards, or does she only do the once there and that's it?
So yeah, I mean, as a channel swim, like the standard is to just go. You just do one way, and then you're done. I mean, people have since done it forward and backwards. I think someone did it about 4 times, in one continuous go for like 50 hours or something. But the official swim is to just go one way.
Yeah. Must have been an expensive ferry trip back because they were very rare in those days, weren't they? Probably didn't even have an air ticket back in those days.
No. Well, so she swam France to England, which you can't do anymore. A lot of swimmers say they preferred that because it gives you this idea of sort of swimming home, which was
okay.
She arrived at the White Cliffs of Dover.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I don't want to give too much away about the film. Obviously, people probably get the gist of what the film's about. He's put a lot of budget into this, and now it's been released on the 17th of October. Is that right? Tell us more about when it's going to be released, where people can see it.
So it's coming out in North America, in select theaters from the 17th of October. We open in New York. And then we've got a number of screenings in that kind of tri-state area. Then over in California, we've got a number of other screenings, LA, San Francisco, and then up to Canada, Toronto, and London, Ontario. So yeah, we've got a sort of range of screenings all across the States and Canada. And then after that, it comes out digitally from November 18th, which is Mercedes Glight's 125th birthday.
Yeah, wow. December 18th.
November 18th.
Oh, November 18th. Okay. All right. Well, that's a good time to really rake in the money. No, not raking the money, but obviously you get paid for viewers and, a bit like music online, isn't it, really? You get royalties. That's it. Royalties from it and things like that. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. You get a percentage of each watch. So everyone who listens to this should go and watch it. Not just because it gives me money, but it's a great story too.
The fact that you've actually been kind of premiered in North America, or released, you could say, in certain very big areas, New York and Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic to kind of have a release like that because this is a very independent film. We didn't have any real, sizable budget. This isn't Hollywood. This isn't anything like that. It's just a group of people who are really dedicated to telling this story, who spent, 3 years bobbing around in the English Channel with that burning.
Just 3 people, is that all?
No, for 3 years. Sorry, a film.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
The credits go on for quite some time, but it was a small crew still. It's nothing kind of in comparison to the sort of the regular standard of Hollywood. This was and we did incredibly well in the UK. We released in England last May, and it did incredibly well, top 20 at the box office, and we were in theaters for 18 weeks, which is way beyond what we ever expected. So we're just looking to replicate that success in America and see how American audiences take to the story.
Yeah, well, I look forward to you picking up that Oscar eventually somewhere, because they do actually have a slot for new movie, best new movie. I think even Kobe Bryant won one. It was a 5-minute thing or something, and he actually won an Oscar for that. But I mean, I'm not saying, but your movie is obviously bigger than that. It's biopic, isn't it? And it's British, which obviously British films actually, especially independent movies, have actually, done well and big in big awards like that. So, well, obviously back home here, not BAFTA? Is it BAFTA, the film awards? There's the very different. It is, yeah. So I mean, you've got all that coming up as well. So, it's really fantastic. What do you have coming up now? You've done this movie. You've obviously now just got not even. It's just a marketing and just waiting really. What do you have lined up?
It's kind of the big PR push really at the moment, and getting the word out there about the film and trying to get audiences to come along and see it. But I've also got a number of other projects that are sort of developing at the moment.
You have,
I have, yeah. One's a true crime thriller set on the south coast of England in the 1930s. So it's a lot darker than Vindication Swim, a lot grittier, kind of like a noir type picture. And then the other one is a First World War survival thriller. So they're both kind of history themed, but we're just sort of pitching them out, great scripts for them, which we're pitching out at the moment, trying to raise the funds.
Yeah, that's it really. It's all about raising the budget, but that's the industry. That's how the industry works, isn't it, really?
Yeah, exactly. You got to raise the funds, but obviously, with Vindication Swim, my other film and all that, it's all kind of moving in the right direction, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, it is a really great pleasure having you on this show, and obviously good to see that there was some. I mean, I didn't even think you would have mentioned Seaford as somewhere you filmed it. I just thought I'd throw that in because I just remember going there I wasn't even a teenager then. I think I was about 12, 13 years old, just about. Let's go to Seaford and have a look here. And I just remember seeing these crashing waves in the winter, but that's what Sussex like. It's like that in Sussex, So. But yeah, no, it's a great pleasure having you here, and obviously do keep me posted. I'm not sure how you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should probably know a way to get hold of me anyway. And obviously, if you make anything else, go either through your agent or myself, and we'll have you back on. But in the meantime, in the meantime, obviously, I'm sure this movie will do really well, and you've got stuff now keeping you on a roll, really. So. Good luck with that, and great pleasure. Thanks a lot for coming to speak to us on the Dave Palmer Show.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me on.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.